Michelle, thank you for joining me. We had a discussion off camera here a minute ago where you had a rather astonishing result with a hematoma on your leg that just basically disappeared as a result of one of our webinars, right?
It was during that time that it happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get a little background because this is one of the things that I, as a non-doctor, would consider impossible, in that medicine can't really do this and other man-made things can't do this. And you would know that in particular because you are very well educated in the medical field, being a nurse for many, 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 many years. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Like 15 years as a nurse and 30 years in and out of hospitals and helping people and advising doctors and
all the time I was in operating theater. Yeah.
Okay. And in all that time, you've seen your share of hematomas, I'm presuming, and you never saw anything like what you just experienced.
No, I've never seen that before, Gary. What happened the time of the webinar. No.
All right. So let's get a little history here. Okay. Yeah. You had a car accident.
Mm-hmm. I was hit by a car. I was driving my bicycle and I was hit by a car.
Oh, okay. And so on your lower leg, you ended up with this big bump that was blue and nasty looking and was very painful.
Yeah.
That's a hematoma.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a description of a hematoma. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so as time went on, if that pain that you had there was like a 10, and it would get worse at night typically. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it was a 10 over the next 2 weeks, you would normally think the hematoma would go completely away in the normal healing process. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe even in a week it would go away.
Maybe, but it was quite a big hematoma, and so you need a little bit more time for that. That's a collection of blood underneath the skin and in the muscles. So depending on the volume, it needs more or less time. Yeah?
Okay, and it was originally the size of a orange, half an orange.
Half an orange, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big bump.
Yeah, very big bump. Yeah.
All right, so you dealt with that. You didn't do anything, like you didn't do EFT for it or anything else other than just normal rest during this 2-week period.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we had one of our live webinars. You're one of our members for it. And we always ask people to bring their own issues to it, because while we may be working with somebody else, since all of our issues at the core are the same, interestingly enough, even
only
though
the details differ.
I say it again.
I said only the details differ.
Yeah, only the details are different. That's right. That's right. So anyway, so you made note of your hematoma as your issue. But as we were going through the webinar, we were going through emotional type issues that people we were working with have, and you would work along with it, and that would help your emotional issues, which may well keep physical issues from healing properly. I've seen that a lot. So anyway, the webinar goes on, and tell us what happened with the hematoma.
After the webinar, I didn't mention any pain, but as I didn't mention, I wasn't thinking at pain neither. But I stayed up for another 2 or 3 hours that evening, and after a while, I noted, I was busy in the webinar, or at least my point for the webinar or my issue was my hematoma on my leg. And then I inspected my leg on pain. That was 0 at that moment. And the hematoma shrank for another 70%, I think.
Okay. And so by background there, and this we discussed off camera a little bit, if the pain, the original pain was a 10, over this 2-week period, it did gradually get better to like an 8 instead of a 10. but it got at its worst in the evening. And by the way, you're in Belgium, and I'm doing all of this in the morning, in the United States in California. So this was basically your evening when you were doing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was around 7 o'clock in the evening.
Okay.
The webinar. Yeah.
So anyway, so it normally went down to about an 8. So you were starting with about an 8 in pain, and a small decrease in this half an orange size of a hematoma. Okay.
Yeah.
And then after it, you said you didn't even notice whether there was pain or not because there was no pain. I mean, it just didn't.
And it doesn't picked up my attention at that moment.
Yeah. Okay. But by the time you went to bed 2 or 3 hours later, you noticed, well, you said, you noticed no pain, I think, and then you looked at the hematoma.
I inspected my lower leg after 2-3 hours, and because I realized I had no pain since the webinar. So I lifted my pants to look at my leg, and I saw that the bump was smaller for at least 70%.
Yes, and the color changed too.
And the color changed. The blue color was gone at that time.
Okay, so it was, if I remember it right, like a nasty bluish, kind of bruised kind of color.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I can send eventually the picture of it then and now.
Oh, you have before and after pictures.
Yeah.
Oh, like you have a picture of it just before the webinar started and just after?
I mean, it was around, I think, the same day of the webinar. I took a picture of my leg.
Oh, okay. And then before you went to bed.
And the other day, I took another picture.
Another day, mean the day after the webinar, or then that night, or
the day after the webinar?
The day after the webinar. Okay. All right. Well, send that to me. Yeah, we'll put those for people to.
And I'm going to put it the same position so you can compare as a non-medical. You can compare it easier. I'm going to put it the same way. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Great. Wonderful. Michel, thank you so much. That's really going to be helpful for everybody. Very nice.
I hope so. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.